Hello, children of God. Welcome to your Unit 1 review video for the Intro to the Study of Ethics. And here we go. All these notes are available on Plus Portals, these PowerPoints that I'll be going through. So you can grab them all there, as well as the study guide, although your version will not be filled in like mine is. But here we go. Okay, so define ethics according to Notes 1 in your textbook. It is the study of character and of right and wrong. Now, it's not just about right and wrong because, as number 2 says, actions define who you are and who you become. So morality isn't just about a specific action in isolation. It's about how that action contributes to who you are. So it's also about part of your character. 3 stages of morality is outlined in your homework. I think this was homework 2 out of Growing in Christian Morality. There's a childhood, adolescent, and adult phase. This is outlined in ethics. And Notes 1, what is ethics? So in the childhood morality, your values are unconscious. You get them from other people. They're totally externally imposed. At adolescent morality, you start to test everything, and you're evaluating, and it's kind of a mix between your values being externally imposed on you and internally chosen. And then if you progress to an adult or mature morality, which not everybody does, you've chosen your values consciously, and they are now internally chosen. How you act, the principles you're acting on are intentionally chosen and acted upon. According to the Catholic Church, what are the 2 sources of moral knowledge? Natural and divine law, which we'll get into more later. Pathos, ethos, and logos. This was our note 0 on rhetoric. Pathos is the appeal to the passions and the emotions. The ethos is the appeal to the repute of the arguer. So, like, some people will be convinced by a Donald Trump argument just because it's Donald Trump. Some people will be convinced by President Obama argument just because it's President Obama, just because they trust him and they agree with his ethos. So logic is an appeal to reason, and that's what makes an argument sound, and the strongest arguments appeal to all 3. If you just have pathos and ethos, they're really effective, but they're really manipulative, and if they don't have logos, they become propaganda. So the strongest argument is based on logos, but it's often the least effective without pathos and ethos. So all 3 are really effective, are required to be effective, as we'll see in SAA. What is propaganda? We talked about that. It's an argument based on emotion, fear, hope, that sort of thing. Pathos and ethos without logos. Process of character formation. Let's look at the notes from Notes 1 here. So your principles, you act on the principles, the things that you value, whether those are unconscious or conscious. Both of those affect the way you act. Your actions become habits. Good moral habits are called virtues. Bad moral habits are called vices. And those make up your character. When you're describing someone's character, you're describing their virtues and vices. If someone's funny, it's because they're funny habitually. If they're lazy, it's because they're lazy habitually. And what we need to do, if you're becoming a person with an adult morality or mature morality, what you need to do is work on this process of getting rid of your unconscious principles and making them into conscious principles. Get rid of the ones you don't want. The ones you do want, they now become conscious. Now your actions are within your control, and you're guiding your actions, which means you're guiding your habits and vices and virtues, and you're guiding your character. So that's the process of becoming mature, is moving from unconscious to conscious principles. Went over what are virtues and vices, do all the acts impact character? Yes, we talked about that. Relativism, this is in your textbook in pages 9 to 18 and also in Notes 3. Moral relativism is a belief that there is no absolute right or wrong. Moral values are not absolute, they're relative to the person or to the context. So what's right for you is different than what's right for me is different from what was right or wrong for people 20 years ago, 40 years ago, 1,000 years ago. And at least 3 reasons why relativism is common today. People don't want to seem intolerant, and we don't want to judge other people's ideas or beliefs. And we're exposed to many different beliefs and cultures. We live in a multicultural society, and so we come into contact with people from lots of different belief systems and all over the world. And also we live in a scientific age, which means that the weird science we've discovered, like quantum theory and relativity, has kind of made us question the nature of the universe and if we can really know anything, and if anything is objective, much less morality. And also we really like provable facts, and morality is not really provable, at least not in the way that we're like to prove things scientifically. What does tolerance entail? Let's go to I think this is in notes 3. Yeah, here. Cardinal Sheen, or Archbishop. I forget if it was a bishop or a cardinal. But anyway, he's venerable. He's maybe going to be a saint one day. He's on the way. Fulton Sheen, he says that tolerance applies only to persons, never to principles. Intolerance applies only to principles, never to persons. What this means is that we tolerate other people and accept them as equal, but we don't accept their ideas and tolerate their ideas as equal. The idea that you love the sin or hate the sin. So that's what we mean by tolerance. So a lot of people use this word not correctly, and they think any time you disagree with someone you're being intolerant or bigoted or hateful or whatever. Two major problems with relativism outlined in the textbook. One, it's contradictory. It says there should be no shoulds. That's what this little cartoon is about, where it's saying, oh, I don't tell other people how to act. You should try it, which of course contradicts itself because he's telling you how to act. So it contradicts itself. It says that there should be no shoulds. Also, it's impractical. Nobody actually lives that way. Everybody thinks that people should act a certain way and not another way. Just ways that human nature is. Even if people say they don't, in the way they actually act, they act not like a relativist. They act like someone who believes that you should act some ways and not others. An example of something's a matter of taste. Something's a matter of taste if it can be true for two different people at once. So like your favorite ice cream or favorite pizza, something like that. So like roses are beautiful, type of ice cream, that sort of thing. Those are all matters of taste. Matters of fact are things that must be true or not true. They can't be both. So while somebody can be to the left of me but to the right of you, or we can, the best ice cream flavor can be different for me than for you, there are certain things like 2 + 2 is 4. They can't be different for both of us. If one of us says 2 + 2 is 5, then that person's wrong. Now, it doesn't just make something a matter of taste. This is getting into number 15. Just because you don't have evidence. We asked, was there a kangaroo in the room last night? Well, there's no way to know that, but there wasn't a kangaroo and not a kangaroo. We can't both be right about that. Either it was one way or the other, so it's a matter of fact, not a matter of taste. Also, disagreement does not mean that it's a matter of taste. People disagree about whether the earth is flat or round, unfortunately, even in this technological age. But that doesn't mean it's a matter of taste just because people disagree about it. It's one way or the other. And we talked about all these things that are a matter of fact, like God exists. You can't prove it with science, and people disagree about it, but that it either is or is not true. It can't be both. And the idea that something can't be true and its opposite, a proposition and its opposite can't both be true in the same way at the same time, that's called the principle of non-contradiction, which is number 17. Going back to number 16. Oh, the proof given in class that right or wrong are matters of fact. Okay, so this again is here in notes 2. So this syllogism here. So we said that if right or wrong depends on what's good or bad for humans, if good or bad depends on human nature, and if human nature is a matter of fact, then right or wrong is a matter of fact. So let's give an example of this. So in Left to Tell, the Hutus are killing the Tutsis because they call them cockroaches. They think that they're less than human. Okay, so that's their understanding of human nature, which is a matter of fact. Two people can't if one person says you're a cockroach and the other person says you're not a cockroach, either you are a cockroach or you're not. They can't both be right. There's a truth about who you are independent of what they think. Okay, so their understanding of your human nature, your human nature is a matter of fact. Okay, so whether or not killing you is right or wrong is a matter of fact, because what's good or bad is based on human nature. Okay. Principle of non-contradiction. Okay. Define natural law. This is all in notes 4. It's the inborn sense of right and wrong that all humans have. It's our discoverable by our use of reason, and it's based on man's natural moral sense. It's discovered by reason, as we said. The concept of natural law is important for Christians because it helps us where Scripture doesn't talk about a subject or it has contradictory claims about a subject. It also helps us dialogue with non-Christians who don't believe in the Bible and Revelation and those sorts of things. And it is all through the Declaration of Independence. If you bring up the handout on the Declaration of Independence that I gave you, and we highlighted some things in it, specifically the part where it says the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle us to certain things. So it's all through the Declaration of Independence. C.S. Lewis lays out an argument for the existence of the natural law very well if you look at this handout that I gave you as well that sums up C.S. Lewis's argument right there. That would be worth taking a look at, especially if you're doing essay A or B. 5 common misconceptions about the natural law. That will be here at the end of notes 4. That natural law is not just preferring natural over artificial things. It's not what we observe in animals. It's not what people naturally or most often do. It's not approving of all involuntary tendencies. Some people are involuntarily attracted to, little kids or a tree. That doesn't mean it's okay for them to actually go after a little kid or a tree. What everyone automatically knows about right and wrong. It's not just, what has been taught automatically in your culture, although cultures have a great deal of commonality. Number 24, what is the proper motivation for following the natural law? This is in notes 4 and 5. So natural law allows us to live in accord with our human nature. If we're following our human nature and its purpose, its telos, the purpose of being human, then we'll function naturally, we'll live naturally, and we will thrive. So that's our purpose for following the natural laws. We're living in accordance with our nature and we're functioning well. It's like as if an eye, the telos of an eye is to see. If an eye had a choice about whether to see or not, it would be following its function if it chose to see. So we have a choice about whether we live in accordance with our telos or not. That's the natural law. Number 25, distinguish the following: non-natural, natural, unnatural, and supernatural. So again, go to the end of notes 4. Right here. So something natural, we're talking about the created nature of a thing. Non-natural means it's not necessarily the way that we were created to use, but it doesn't go against our nature. It's kind of maybe artificial. Unnatural means it goes against our nature, and supernatural means it transcends our nature. So there's some great examples of this here with each of these 4 human faculties or abilities for the natural use, the non-natural use, unnatural use, and supernatural use. All right. Number 26. So the divine law is moral laws revealed by God. So things like, the 10 Commandments, the Beatitudes, things like that. What is the magisterium? That's the teaching office or the teaching function of the church. So when the church is teaching, that's the magisterium, and that is the job of the bishops and the popes and church councils specifically. So it serves the divine law by interpreting and applying it to specific contexts. So like a judge applies the laws of the country, the magisterium applies the laws of what's been revealed through divine law. So it can't make up new stuff. Just like if you walk into a courtroom, a judge just can't make up a law to enforce on you. The magisterium can't make stuff up, can't change stuff. It can just apply it to specific situations. Number 28, we are going to get rid of that one, which makes number 29. Number 28 says, what is the proper motivation for following divine law? That is gratitude, because God loved us first. It comes from the first letter of John, right here. Because if God has loved us, we must also love one another. Oh, hello, Cinderella. Would you like to say hi to the children? Cinderella decided to come say hi. So, we often mistake and think that the purpose of the Christian life is to get to heaven and to avoid hell, and we should want to get to heaven and want to avoid hell, but that's not our primary motivation. Our primary motivation is to love God as He loved us. She wanted to put her claws out. All right, so your essay, you get to choose either A, B, or C. I recommend you use the rubric to plan. Your rubric might have changed. The one I gave you in class might be slightly different and a couple points from what you see on the screen here, just because sometimes I tinker with the rubrics, a point or two here or there. But it should be basically the same, and go with the one that I gave you. Because who knows when you're looking at this video? It might be a year or two after I made it. So, anyway, the first one, it says your friend claims that there is no absolute objective right or wrong, and you have to convince him otherwise using pathos, ethos, or logos. This one says write a formal essay in which you would use logos to take a position either for or against moral relativism. And this one is you're going to explain Jesus'